I remember when people thought we weren't going to get any returning stages. Now we have 8 of them, 4 from each game, and a lot of them are fan favorites. I wanted to take a closer look at all of these stages and the changes applied to them to see if they made them a better or worse map, and if it was worse, what changes should they do to fix them in time for the game's launch. That being said, I'm not going to cover every tiny detail they added or changed between the stages, so I would highly recommend checking out Watsum's video if you're curious about a more specific look. But with that out of the way, if you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing, and let's take a look at if Splatoon 3 ruined returning stages. First up is Museum, and it is easily my favorite. I don't have too much to say for this one. They expanded the spawn region and got rid of the spinner there a little bit. The mid spinner is a bit lower. The walls on this side of the map are glass now to allow easier sight. A sponge was added here, and most importantly, they added an uninkable on this side of the stage, which not only expands that part of the map, but it also means tower control won't be over water as long if the path is similar. And to be honest, the ridiculously high spinner in Turf War and the tower being over water were my 2 biggest problems with the stage. This is just a straight up improvement in every way. Let's start with the positives on the next stage, Hammerhead Bridge. The spawn area has been widened, which can allow for much better access, especially on the right side. Yeah, that's really it. So I do not like this stage rework at all. While I get the idea of having Hammerhead Bridge be finished in construction and think that's really cool, taking away the grates from a stage design perspective is going to pose a lot of problems. What made this stage great was not just the, well, great path across the top, but also that you had options on both the sides in order to move around it. All of that is gone. The sides are nowhere near as useful and cannot go all the way as far as they did in Splatoon 1, and the great path is gone, which takes away a ton of the stage's identity and removes yet another movement option. Watsum even compared this stage to Walleye Warehouse, and while I don't think it's as bad as Walleye, the fact that it's comparable to one of the worst stages in the game with very few movement options is not a good sign. Now look, despite it being a big part of the stage's identity, I can understand wanting to take away the great path, especially with things like ballpoint or brushes being able to roll full speed across it. It could be really extreme, especially in modes like Clam Blitz and Rainmaker. But is it worth making the stage this bland? I don't think so. I think the best path forward is to just straight up go back to Splatoon 1 Hammerhead and redesign it again, keeping the great path there. But if they absolutely insist on keeping the new layout we have here, then the sides need a major expansion. They need to be better paths than they were even in Splatoon 1, not worse. I really hope this stage gets some reworks. It's not awful, but wow, this went from one of the best stages in Splatoon 1 to not looking good at all. Alright, next up is Mahi Mahi, which is far more interesting. The spawn area got a huge improvement, which was the worst part about the stage in Splatoon 1. It's much harder to get there, and you have much more ways out of it, which I really like. The mid area has also been improved. There were a lot of awkward holes in the map that now are filled when the water level rises, and the towers in mid now look much better rather than being kinda awkward. They even included the bounce pads from single player into the stage, which is something we haven't seen before and is something I want to see in much more of these stages. However, there's one part of this rework I really dislike.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't.
This is another case of oversimplification, and I'm not a fan of this pattern. Look at the islands on the Splatoon 1 variant and how many ways you can move across them, the interesting fights, and especially being another path around the map. Now, the islands aren't useless thanks to this block here. You can still traverse them, and they are an alternate route, but nowhere near the same quality that they used to be in Splatoon 1. I don't even get why they did this. Like, I guess it makes the stage less large, but that's it. It's still a difficult path. It didn't make it any easier, so like, why? That being said, I don't think it ruins the stage in any way except for Rainmaker, where this was kind of your alternate route, and I'm really worried how that's gonna play if this area isn't expanded. It's a shame that the islands change is so weird, because outside of that, I think all these changes are positive, and I think as a whole, this stage is still very good, but getting rid of that extra bit of depth makes it slightly worse than it was in Splatoon 1. Next up is the GOAT, Flounder Heights. Now, other than this balloon, which provides a bit of cover, and the trench there having a bit of a ramp that I'm not sure what it's for, the stage only has one major change, which is that it's now a 2-story building instead of a 3-story building. This is the case of oversimplification I am actually okay with. I think the height here isn't too significant to ruin the stage and actually makes it more accessible and means the variety of paths you can push in are now faster. And considering the variety of ways to push in over the walls is what makes the stage good, making those better makes the stage better. So I think this is an improvement. We don't get a good look at the spawn area, but the spawn area was already perfect in Splatoon 1, so I doubt it's changed that much. Alright, on to the Splatoon 2 stages. First up is Mako Mart, where outside of a bit of an extended spawn area with what I think is a grate on the right side, or a slightly extended platform, and more of an extended platform here, there's basically no changes. I think Mako Mart was the best stage in Splatoon 2, and I don't really think it needed much anyway. The spawn area was already really wide, which fit with Splatoon 3, so I don't have much to say here. It looks basically the same as it did in Splatoon 2, which was great, so I think it will continue to be great. Next up is Sturgon Shipyard, which on the Splatfest layout has an extra grate to make this right side a little bit better, and a ramp outside of spawn, which makes that a bit easier to move on. I'm assuming those will also be in the normal stage variant, because I don't see why not, though technically I can't confirm them. Outside of that, there's just a slight extension on the grate on the left side being the only change. Now, I think Sturgon is a solid Splatoon 2 map, however, it does have one area I think could have used a bit more adjustments, which is this left side. This is your alternate route to push in Splatoon 2, and it's not very good, mainly due to the wall you have to climb and the limited space. I would love if the platform was extended so you could go fully to the left side here, and or I think it would be really cool if they transformed this into a ramp instead of a wall so it could be much easier to push through. The rotating platforms on Sturgon make it more unique than most of the other Splatoon 2 stages, and outside of those grievances, I think it's a good stage, so add a little bit more to it and it could be a great one. Next up is Inkblot Art Academy, which has a lot of mixed opinions. Some people really like this stage, some people hate it, and I think it's meh. So let me use a chart real quick to show you guys why this stage is such a mixed reception. So you see this whole square area here from mid and the sides by your base? This is good. Now you see these two on the sides? These are horrible. These are your two alternate options. You're stuck on permanent low ground with limited approach options and you can't back up. This hurts on all modes, but is especially felt in Rainmaker because in that mode having multiple ways to move the objective is what makes it fun, and you don't have more than one on Inkblot. So here are my two solutions. If you don't want to drastically change the stage, make it slightly better in all modes but still a bad Rainmaker stage, just put a sponge here so if you drop you can back off more easily, which makes it a much better route. However, if you want to actually make this a really good stage, change these sides entirely into a completely alternate option, including the ramps there, so you can move forward with something like the Rainmaker through that path. I'm aware that would be a lot harder to do, and that's why I think it won't happen, but that's how you make the stage good. Last up is Wahoo World, and this is a stage where a lot of people didn't really seem to understand why it's bad, so let me briefly explain. Your main push option is through mid. On this tiny bridge you can barely move through in a super condensed and flat area with minimal cover. And on top of that, in most modes, that goes away for half the match! Now look, the stage has a solid spawn area, the rotation underneath is actually pretty cool, and aesthetically it is a top 5 stage. I love all of the amusement rides and how it looks in the background, so let's save this stage. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1... Now we have an alternate push option, which you can design in a brand new and creative way, meaning you're not as dependent on going in mid. With this on top of the bridge always being up, I think it could be a solid stage. Now, overall, I'm happy with the ported stage options and what they did from Splatoon 1 and 2, but it's clear that both games have their problems. For Splatoon 1 returning maps, they need to be way more careful with oversimplifying the stage and taking away what's great with it. While for Splatoon 2, many of these stages have too condensed a mid and they're not doing enough changes, mainly needing to expand the stages. I still think this game has massive potential to have the best overall maps compared to any future Splatoon game, but I hope they're willing to be a bit more careful with how they look at returning stages. That being said, I don't think they ruined them, and I'm excited to see what else comes back. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in another video.